So, what is an option? To put it really simply, an option is an instrument that you can buy or sell where the value of it depends on the price of an underlying asset. And so we'll talk about what underlying means. We'll talk about what asset means as well. But that's really what an option is, especially when we're talking about trading options in the stock market. Now, this is a concept that we're all fairly familiar with. This is something we deal with actually on a daily basis, and we may not necessarily think about it consciously, but think about a coupon. Let's say Domino's Pizza is going for about $8 right now. If you have a coupon for a $5 pizza, well, then the coupon is worth about $3. And so the coupon, its value is determined by the price of an underlying asset. So in this case, the underlying would be the pizza, and the value of the coupon depends on the difference between what you can buy the pizza for and what the pizza is actually selling for now. And so obviously, if Domino's raises their price on pizza, but you have a coupon that lets you buy it for $5, well, the value of your coupon is going to go up based on the price of the pizza going up as well. Now, there are two types of options. There are call options and there are put options, and they do different things. Let's talk about a call option first. With a call option, what we're doing is we basically give somebody the right to buy shares of an asset at a specified price. If you buy a call option or if you own a call option, it means you have the right to buy at a specific price by a specific deadline, a prearranged price and a prearranged deadline. The simplest way to explain this is if we use a house as an example. Let's say I own a house and its current home value as of today, July 13th, 2026, is $100,000. Now, I have a buddy, and his name is Jack, and he's interested in buying my house, but he's not so sure. So we make a deal. I give Jack the option to buy my house on or before January 1st of 2028 at a pre-arranged price. Let's just say $100,000. In order to make this deal with Jack, however, I'm going to charge him $5,000 for the option to buy my house in the future at this prearranged price. So then Ryan charges Jack $5,000. Jack pays me $5,000 for the option to buy the house for $100,000 on or before January 1st of 2028. In this situation, Jack has bought a call option on my house. I have sold him a call option on my house. In this scenario, Jack wins out if the value of the house, if the price of the house goes up. So let's say, for example, in July of 2026, my house is worth $100,000. However, by the time January 2028 rolls around, let's say my house is now worth $125,000. Jack has the right to buy my house for $100,000. So he can buy a $125,000 asset for $100,000. And this is how Jack makes money. Suppose then January comes around and we shake hands and we make the deal and I sell him my house for $100,000. Now Jack has a $125,000 house that he only paid $100,000 for. When you factor in the fact that he paid $5,000 for the option, overall Jack is showing a profit of $20,000. Let's say though that it actually worked out a little bit differently and the value of my house went down over time. In this scenario, let's pretend that the house starts at $100,000 in value. But by January of 2028, the house has actually lost value and now it's only worth $90,000. In this case, Jack is not obligated to buy my house. He just has the right to buy my house. He won't do that because the house is only worth $90,000. He's not going to pay me $100,000 for a $90,000 house. It wouldn't make sense for him to do so. I make money in the sense that I received $5,000 from Jack so that he could have the option to buy my house in the future. Overall, the house has gone down from $100,000 to $90,000. So I've lost $10,000 of equity in the house. But I've made $5,000 from selling the option to my friend Jack. And so what I've really done there is I've actually protected myself and hedged myself from losses in the future. If you sell a call option, you're hoping that the asset, the underlying asset, either stays the same or maybe even goes down. And that's how you actually make money, by selling a call option. Generally speaking, when we sell a call option, it's more so to protect yourself in case the shares go down in price when we're talking about stock options. So if you're selling options against your house, what you're doing is you're protecting yourself from losing value in the house. You have a way to get some of that money back by selling options against your house. And that's how you make money, by selling call options. One thing that's important to understand, however, is how the price of an option or how the value of an option changes over time when you compare it to the value or the price of the underlying. So let's say Jack bought a call option from me on my house and he has the right to buy my house for $100,000. Jack, however, isn't necessarily interested in buying my house. He's more interested in trading that option to somebody else for a profit. So let's say the house goes up in value from $100,000 in July of 26 up to $125,000 by January of 2028. The value of the option that Jack bought also changes over time. Remember, he initially paid $5,000 for the option to buy my house in the future at $100,000. As time goes on, when the value of the house begins to increase, the value of that option also goes up until at the expiration of that contract, the value of that option will basically just be the difference between what the house is really worth and what the option gives you the right to buy it at. So in this case, again, the house is worth $125,000. The option gives Jack the right to buy the house for $100,000. So on January of 2028, that option will be worth $25,000 if Jack wanted to trade that option to somebody else, if he wanted to sell his option to somebody else. What this means, essentially though, is that Jack turned a $5,000 investment into $25,000 because the house went up from $100,000 to $125,000. This is how people who buy options trade and make money. Something interesting happens though if the house stays about the same in price or value over time. In this example, the house is worth $100,000 in July of 2026 and is worth $100,000 in January of 2028. The value of the option will go down over time. In 2026, Jack was willing to pay $5,000 for the option to buy my house, on the chance that maybe my house goes up in value enough to make it worth it for him. However, if my house stays about the same in value, the value of that option will go down over time. It's just not worth it to, as you get closer to January 2028, to pay for that option if the price of the house, if the value of the house isn't changing much. In this scenario, for me, as the owner of the house and the person who sold the option, this is essentially ideal for me because the value of my asset hasn't gone down. It's still $100,000. I charged Jack $5,000 for the option, and Jack is not going to exercise the option. He's not going to buy my house from me because it's not worth it for him to do so. So what ends up happening is I keep the house for $100,000. The value hasn't changed. And I keep the $5,000 that Jack gave me, meaning I've actually profited $5,000 from my house's value staying the same. Now, ostensibly, if I made this deal with Jack, I'm not expecting the price of my house to go up that much, which is why I offered the deal to him. It's why I charged him the $5,000 to make him that deal. I made with him the deal that he could buy my house for $100,000 in the future if he wanted to, but I was going to charge him $5,000 to have the option to do that. I wouldn't do that if I felt like the value of my house was going to go up. If I felt like the value of my house was going to go up a lot, I wouldn't want to sell it for $100,000. And so when we're trading options with stocks, sometimes this happens. Sometimes we have call options that we sell against shares that we own, and we need to get out of the trade. Here's how you do it. As the value of the house goes up, the value of that option will go up as well. And if I don't want to really lose the house, my goal then actually is to buy the option back from Jack. I'll buy it from him to cancel out the deal. That's actually how you close out of the deal. Now, ideally, if you're trying to close out of the deal, you don't want to buy it back when the option is at its highest value. So that's part of the risk of trading options when you're selling options, is if it goes against you, you have to decide when is it time to buy out the option that you sold to close your position on it. So ideally, we might think somewhere around here. If we close out the position here, maybe we're buying it back for $15,000. In that case, we sold the option to Jack for $5,000. We have to buy it back for $15,000. And we've seen a loss in that way. We've lost $10,000 of cash, but the house is going up in value. And so even in a situation like this, the trade didn't go your way exactly, but because you own the shares or because you own the house, the value of the house is going up. And so it does protect you a little bit, even when things don't go your way. This is again why selling options is generally a much safer strategy than buying options. Because even if things don't go your way, closing out the position is relatively risk-free. You can minimize your losses even if you're wrong. Time works on your side. This is why selling options, generally speaking, is a much smarter way of trading than buying options. Now let's talk about put options. When you buy or own a put option, you have the right to sell an asset at a prearranged price by a specific prearranged date. So for this scenario, we're going to pretend that you and Jack are walking along in a nice neighborhood, and you see a home for sale for $100,000. Jack believes that the price of the house will go down, but you're not so sure. So you make a deal with Jack. You tell Jack that he can buy the house at any time and immediately sell it to you for $100,000 on or before January 1st of 2028. However, in order to make this deal, you're going to charge Jack $5,000 up front. In this scenario, Jack has just bought a put option on the house, and you have sold him the put option for the house. In this scenario, Jack wins out if the price of the house goes down. Let's say the house goes from $100,000 to $90,000 by January of 2028. Well, by that point, Jack, having bought the put option from you, can buy the house at any time for $90,000 and sell it to you at that pre-agreed price of $100,000. So Jack is going to be able to buy the house for $90,000, sell it to you for $100,000. And when you subtract the $5,000 that he paid for the option, Jack will make $5,000 on his trade. The value of the option over time will go up as the price of the house goes down. In this case, you'll see that the option that Jack paid for started at $5,000 and it went up to $10,000 because by January of 2028, that's what it would be worth. If you can buy the house at market value for $90,000 and turn around and sell it immediately for $100,000, it means that option is then worth $10,000. And that's how Jack would make money. If the value of the house goes up, you as the seller of the put option stand to make money. You don't actually have to own the house. You just have to have $100,000 set aside because you agreed to buy the house for $100,000 from Jack if he wanted to. So over time, however, as the value of the house goes up, the value of the option goes down. The value of the put option goes down in this scenario. And so again, for you, this works out in your favor because you charged Jack $5,000 for the option to sell the house to you at the agreed upon price. For you, if the home goes up in value, Jack is not going to buy the house for $125,000 and sell it to you for $100,000. And so what'll happen there is Jack pays you the $5,000, you get to keep all $5,000, and both of you walk away. You've made money, Jack lost the $5,000 that he paid to you, and for you as the seller of the put option, you made money when the price of the house went up. And again, an interesting thing happens when the price of the house stays flat. Because in this scenario, the price ultimately doesn't change a whole lot by January of 2028. But the price of the option will go down over time. This is where for you as the seller of the option, you actually have an advantage here compared to just owning shares or owning the house. Because in this example, the house's value doesn't change. However, you still made money because you sold the option to somebody else. This is also why selling options is a good strategy, sometimes even compared to just owning shares, because if the underlying stays relatively flat, or in other words, it trades sideways, if the value doesn't change that much, you'll actually still make some money on that from the option that you sold. And so again, this is one of the reasons why selling options is better than buying options. You know, when you sell an option, time works in your favor. You can be a little bit wrong even about the direction. You know, if you're selling a put option, it means you think that that stock, or in this case, the house, is going to go up in value. But you actually don't have to be spot on correct about that. It can go sideways, and you'll actually still make money even if it goes sideways. And this is why trading options can sometimes provide actually a strategic advantage to just buying and selling shares of stock. It's much easier to engineer and calibrate your risk as well as your reward profile if you do it the right way.